Hello everyone, Alistair Gold of Football.London here from the Emirates Stadium, where we've just had another very dramatic North London derby. Pretty much had everything. It had VAR, probably didn't have a red card. That's probably the one thing that some North London derbies have that this one didn't, but other than that, it had goals, it had late chances, it had drama. It was a good one. I'd say, kind of in summary, on the whole, probably good for Tottenham Hotspur. I think the performance was much more like we kind of would expect from a Tottenham Hotspur side. Pochettino was certainly happy afterwards. Felt there were lots of positives that he can now take forward. I think if you're looking at it on paper, Spurs were 2-0 up, should have seen it out. I just think that goal before half-time was so crucial in terms of, you know, the mentality and as Pochettino said, it gave them an emotional hit, Tottenham, which Arsenal were then able to take on into the next half. Although I just think there were enough positives today. I think the formation was interesting, to put it mildly. Davinson Sanchez at right back was certainly a surprise for everyone. When we got the team sheet, we assumed it was the back three, with Sissoko as a right wing back, but it wasn't. It was Davinson Sanchez playing out on the right, and he had a bit of a mare, to be honest. He got better in the second half. I thought he did. As the game wore on, he seemed to kind of get to grips with the role slightly. However, there were just too many moments where he dallied on the ball. He really does struggle in possession. Gave the ball away. Positioning wasn't great. And for a right back or a left back, you want them to be able to get forward. You want them to be able to create and put crosses in. And unfortunately, every time he tried to dribble the ball, pretty much, he gave the ball away. It's just an area that I just don't feel he can play there. I asked Poch about it afterwards. Pochettino did his normal thing. You mustn't ever forget he absolutely adores Davinson Sanchez, and he was very quick to protect him and actually said he was one of the best players out there. I think he said Lloris, Winks and Eriksen and Sanchez were his four best players on the day, he felt. But, I mean, he justified it as well by saying that in the week they'd watched his performances for Athletic, I think it's International Athletic in Colombia, and he played on the right and sometimes on the left for them. So Pochettino felt that was, you know, enough, that he could have seen enough there, and also with his pace he was able to maybe deal better with the likes of Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe, who kind of kept going over there. Personally, I just don't think he really did, and I do think it's an experiment that we probably won't see again. But, you know, Pochettino, he can be quite stubborn. He can keep on going with these things even if other people don't agree. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. But I thought there were a few really good performances out there. I thought Harry Winks was superb. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Possibly for me, one of his biggest performances for Tottenham. He was everywhere. He was so strong in the tackle. It was a really, really strong performance. Obviously, a lot of people will be talking about Guendouzi at the other side for Arsenal, but I thought Winks was a real handful for Arsenal. And a lot of Tottenham's good play came through him, winning the ball, spraying it out to different areas. I thought he was superb. A lot of important blocks as well on the edge of the Tottenham area that probably won't be picked up in match reports and things like that. But no, I thought he really was superb. Lloris, other than some really, really ropey distribution, I think his kicking's getting worse, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there was one moment in the first half when he played like a pass to Alderweireld that didn't even move about 2 foot and almost gave Arsenal a chance, but Alderweireld kind of got a foot in there. But other than that, his saves were superb. There were absolutely loads of full length, tipping over the bar, top corner saves, bottom corner saves. He was fantastic in that regard. You know, really kind of captain's performance in terms of saving the team's bacon on a few times. Other players I thought did well. I'd say a player that I just didn't feel did well again was Danny Rose. A lot of other people getting the flack, you know, like Sanchez in previous weeks. I think Danny Rose is maybe escaping a lot of blame when I think his performances this season have really, really been subpar. I think Danny Rose gets away with a lot of stuff maybe because he's got that blood and thunder thing about him, the real passion in the way he plays, and he absolutely kind of flies into challenges, which is great. It is what you want to see, especially in a derby, as long as they're controlled. But I just feel that he's making so many defensive mistakes. His distribution was awful today. Gave the ball away a few times, including for the Arsenal goal just before the break. And it's just, I think in attacking areas as well, he's not contributing either. He's not setting up goals. He's not slinging in crosses that are really dangerous. And I know a lot of fans love him, and don't get me wrong, he was a fantastic player for Spurs when he was bombing down the left and Kyle Walker was on the right. But I just feel he's just not the same player at the moment. Hopefully he can get back there, but I don't think it's any kind of shock really that he was looking, or Pochettino was looking to move him on in the summer. And I do wonder if Ben Davies gets a shot at left back. I think Ben Davies might hold on to that shirt. I know a lot of people don't rate Ben Davies, but he had a brilliant season 2 seasons ago, created more chances than any other defender in the Premier League. Last season he was carrying an injury pretty much the whole season. Got a lot of flack, and I do think we need to kind of take these things into consideration sometimes. I do think if he gets a chance this season, I think he'll keep Rose out. I don't think it's any coincidence that Ben Davies signed a new contract this summer while Danny Rose was the one the club were looking to move on. I think that says a lot. And I do wonder whether the future is Davies and Sessegnon going forward, with Rose moving on maybe in January or next summer. But let's talk about the goals. I thought Spurs broke really well in the first half especially. Always looked a threat. Opening goal, really kind of quick interchange, wasn't it, with Kane flicking onto Son playing in Lamela. Lamela's shot saved and Eriksen putting the ball away. Eriksen, I thought, played really well today, and he looked far more like his old self. Getting lots of creative kind of moments going, and I thought he did really, really well kind of in those in the final third. Just kind of, he had that free kick that was saved well by the keeper, and he had, I think there was another shot as well, slung in some really dangerous balls. Pochettino said afterwards, it's looking very difficult for anyone to sign Eriksen now in the final 24 hours or so of the foreign transfer windows. He said it's not impossible, you can never say impossible in football, but he feels now that today showed you a performance with Christian Eriksen having a clear mind, focused on the future, and he kind of feels, I think that's a lot of the optimism for him. So that was great to see him get a goal, and I think that will help his confidence going forward as well, and kind of, because if he's going to stay at Spurs, which is looking likely, he's got the months ahead now where he's really going to knuckle down. And quite frankly, if he does have designs on moving somewhere next summer or even in January, he's got to prove it. You know, if Zinedine Zidane was on the fence about whether to make a move for Eriksen, even though it sounds like some in the club did want him at Real Madrid, then his performances this season haven't convinced anyone. They're not going to convince Zidane to part with, or get the club to part with any money, or even on a free transfer. But if he keeps playing like he did today, then maybe. So that was the first goal. Second goal, great work by Harry Winks to press, win the ball back, play in Son, and then the most ludicrous challenge from Xhaka presented Spurs with a penalty. And Harry Kane taking a penalty, especially in a North London derby, it's only going in one place, isn't it? Bottom corner. It was superb. His penalty taking is brilliant. Whether it's top corner, bottom corner, you just know the keeper hasn't really got much of a chance. Kane on the whole, his performance was decent. He held up the ball quite well. A bit dubious towards the end of the penalty claim. Maybe say I was pushed. Felt like to me that he went over very easily. But this was better. This was better from Kane. He looked hungrier. Looked more like the kind of player Tottenham need in matches like this. Then came that goal before half time, which you've spoken about. Again, players getting in between Vertonghen and Alderweireld, which is something that they didn't used to do. That needs to be tightened up. I know Vertonghen obviously is rusty. It's going to take him a little while to get back to kind of how he was last season. Second goal, it was one of those where you kind of felt it was in a period where it was coming. Arsenal were on top. They were looking more and more confident about their play. And once again, in that exact same area of the pitch between the left back and the centre back, shows that we can't always moan about Davinson Sanchez, because it was Jan Vertonghen in that position, and once again a ball's gone in between Danny Rose and the centre back, and a player snuck in and scored. Arsenal had their chances to win it, not least the offside kind of ball in the net that was ruled out. VAR also ruled it out, as well as the linesman. Tottenham had their chances at the end as well. Mauricio Pochettino, the one man you really don't want the ball to fall to, and he had two opportunities. One going the length of the pitch right at the end, where he just didn't know what to do in the final stages of it and ended up overhitting his pass to Kane. And then the second one, it was actually the other way around, and Kane picked him out in the box, steaming in, and he does what unfortunately Mauricio Pochettino does in such areas, hoofed it over the bar. You know, it's not to the detriment of Sissoko. He's great in other areas. In transitions, he's fantastic. And there were so many breaks that he led Spurs on, which he was superb in. But just, he's not a player you want to see in that final third with the ball at his feet. You just pretty much have zero expectation, don't you? But on the whole, I think it was positives. I think Pochettino was optimistic about the future. I think that if they can get to the end of tomorrow with Eriksen still at the club, I think you'd probably say it's been a good transfer window. They haven't lost any key players. Only kind of Trippier's gone on, but I do feel that Pochettino sees Walker-Peters and Foyth as the future of that position. Aurier may still go. The fact that he didn't trust him and he trusted Sanchez instead, and Aurier never came off the bench, perhaps says something about that. I think it's probably improved the team. On Dembele, Lo Celso looked bright, but he's still got a long way to go in his fitness and sharpness. Sessegnon to come, who I think I'm really excited about seeing what he can do for Tottenham. I think you add those three players, Jack Clarke for the future, to a team, and you haven't lost any kind of key players. I think in terms of the window, I think it's a success. If they got Paulo Dybala, don't get me wrong, it would have been a phenomenal transfer window. But I think in terms of improvement, I think they did in the transfer window. Some will say maybe needed a right back, but I still feel, like I say, that Foyth and Walker-Peters are the ones he sees given a chance in that role going forward. Next summer, that may be revisited if they don't prove to do the business, but I think they're the two he's going for, and it just they never seemed close to even going for a right back, which kind of said it all to me. Even Wan-Bissaka, it was always seems to be United in the driving seat for that one. So I think positives. I think they'll regroup. They've got the international break for some of these players to work and get fitter. And Palace when they come back at home as well. And there's a little run of games that are kind of better ones for Spurs to get into their stride. And most of all, Pochettino, he works with a tight, harmonious group. Everyone looking forward, 100% committed, and he looks like he's going to have that from tomorrow night. I saw he joked in a radio interview that he was going to have a party tomorrow night when the window closes. So I think this was a good result for Spurs. Despite the fact they were 2-0 up and they only end up drawing 2-2, I think it's a point that probably is more important than it seems at the time. And you'll see that in the next few weeks. So this is Alistair Gold outside the Emirates Stadium because they kicked us out of the press area after another dramatic North London derby.